Hello, isn't it extraordinary when you can't sleep? I couldn't sleep last night and I got up at about 4 o'clock in the morning and I wrote a letter to my MP about Nadine Dorries. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I just cannot get her out of my mind. I suppose you have no idea who she is. She is this person plucked from obscurity. She writes novels set in Liverpool, I think, and the novels actually aren't so bad. They're actually quite interesting page turners. There's nothing in them, but they are page turners. I mean, you do look to find some substance, but I shouldn't belittle her novels. You know, really, I'm astonished that there is actually a novelist writing in Westminster who is not Geoffrey Archer, and Geoffrey Archer was wrote frankly appalling stuff. Nadine Dorries' stuff is actually worth buying, but my goodness, as a minister, she just doesn't do her job. Now, when she was appointed to the Department of Digital Media something and Sport, I mean, why would you invent an acronym like that? It's just not memorable. And the important thing, I think, at the moment is that we set up a campaign to try and hive off the performing arts and give those to a new minister. Because the theatres are on their knees and Nadine Dorries doesn't give a damn. Or at least that's my impression. I would love to know from a theatre professional whether or not you've actually heard from Nadine Dorries. I strongly suspect you haven't. She just doesn't seem to do anything. And the previous incumbents of this office have been more obsessed with promoting the Olympics or with sport. No harm in that. But I don't see that they've actually been promoting the arts, and certainly not the performing arts. The performing arts are suffering in this country, partly because of COVID, and partly because of a lack of proper investment and proper support. We need that proper support if the arts are going to survive. And the arts bring in so much money into our country. I mean, who cannot think of the amazing West End, which attracts, well, at least outside COVID, which attracts huge audiences from abroad who want to come and see one of our great shows. We do theatre, we do film, we do acting so well that we are exporting our acting talent to America. Andrew Garfield, for example, Tick, Tick, Boom, one of the best films I've seen recently, Spider-Man. I mean, you know, this is a man who was brought up in our traditions of acting. And there's so many people in the US who were educated here in their trade. Now, Nadine Dorries, I'm just in despair over her. Yesterday, I discovered her Twitter feed, which is just caked in nastiness. She put up a picture of a pork pie, presumably some sort of lame joke about the pork pie club. These backbenchers who were stirring the pot and drumming up interest in Partygate. Why raise it again when, at the moment, this issue is sort of quieting down in the House of Commons, and people in the House of Commons are starting to get back to the business that they were elected to do. This has now been moved on to another to another theatre. It's being dealt with by Sue Gray, or should have been. It's now being dealt with by the Met. The politicians should have left this behind and should have got back to their job, but they haven't. They cannot get back to their job. And more than that, Nadine Gray is stirring her own pot. Why? Because she wants headlines? Yes, clearly. Because only a day or two before that, she posted a photograph of the ex-Prime Minister, David Cameron. Why? I don't understand. One of the darkest circles in hell that Dante devised was the circle for traitors. Is Nadine Dorries a traitor? I know she's a reality TV star. Look, why don't we combine these two issues? Why don't we give Nadine Dorries, who is so obviously itching to get a new job when she gets fired from this one, why don't we pluck her out of the Westminster bubble, out of politics, and put her back in reality TV where she belongs? She could host a new show called Traitor, Traitor, and see who's going to betray who. It could be like a new version of Big Brother. It would exactly be the sort of thing I'm sure it'd be very titillating. I hope there'd be proper support for the players afterwards and before and during. I hope that her successor in that strange ministry that she currently runs will actually listen to me about the need for proper support for Traitor, with proper representation by a union, proper representation by an independent agent, and proper release from any sort of contractual constraints once the show is broadcast. At the moment, I think production and television companies have slightly too much control, and this is being perpetuated by the Ofcom regulations, which were set up after a truncated committee hearing into the problem with Jeremy Kyle and the suicides on Love Island. All that committee did was take evidence from 4 people who had been participants on reality TV, 2 from the Jeremy Kyle show and 2 from Love Island. That is, and meanwhile, a bevy of people providing evidence from production. That is not an impartial committee hearing. That is a biased, prejudiced setup. And to trumpet some sort of Ofcom, some sort of regulation on the back of that is laughable. We need to set up proper regulations, and then Nadine Dorries can go off and present the show. I'm sure she'll be so much better at that than failing to do a job and demonstrating a complete and utter disdain for those people with whom she works, and also, obviously, for anybody she represents. There we are. Rant over. Do follow the channel. Do ring the bell. Ring the bell. Go on.